Hello again and welcome to another Morty and Glory Warhammer 40k video. Now, it's no secret that the Imperial Guard Artillery Corps has taken a bit of a beating. We have had points increases galore to the point now where we have things like the Manticore and the Basilisk costing more than some Lehman Russ variants. Now, it's always darkest before the dawn, and in these trying times it would be easy to lose hope and believe that guard artillery spam is dead. You are wrong. See, just as we need it most, the original bullshit guard indirect fire spam has returned. I'm not talking about the Basilisk, but I'll tell you what I am talking about. The Mortar Pit is back, baby! Let us begin with a brief overview of what the hell the Mortar Pit actually is. The basic concept is pretty simple. You take 3 heavy weapon squads and you give every single team in those heavy weapon squads a mortar. This gives you in total 9 mortars spread out across the 3 units.
Attention guardsmen, the Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
Now, just fundamentally, this gives you access to a lot of indirect fire. Each one of those mortars is firing D6 shots, and each individual mortar benefits from blast. So that is 9d6 plus blast indirect fire shot. Now, on the surface, the shots themselves aren't all that impressive. They're strength 5, they're AP 0, and they're only damage 1. It kind of looks like the mortar is an anti-infantry only weapon. But this is the Imperial Guard, and rarely are things unsupported. And so this is where we start getting into the more advanced mortar pick tactics. Because like anything in the Guard, if you just stick something in your list and don't start thinking about giving your orders and how it's going to interact with the units in your army, it's not going to do very well. But start just adding those layers in and it can start punching well above its weight. And let's just explore what buffs you can put on these things. So of course the mortar is heavy, so if it stays still it gets +1 to hit. That cancels out the fact that it'll be firing indirect. You can then add the take aim order on top of that. Yes, you can instantly. I know someone in the comment section is going to be smashing the keyboard saying you can't have take aim and heavy because that's +2 to hit. I've explained this so many times on the channel that I'm blue in the face, but long story short, take aim increases your ballistic skill. That is separate to heavy, which increases the number rolled on the dice. They're 2 separate things. So yes, you can stack +1 to hit and +1 ballistic skill. So you've got 2 +1 to hits there, which is quite nice. And then by staying still, by being in the Guard Combined Arms attachment, you will get lethal hits. So you're hitting on 4s, 6s auto wound. And those 6s to auto wound is great because suddenly it only being strength 5 isn't such a problem because you're spaffing out so many of these shots. It's going to come up. You know, each mortar team, even if you're putting them into vehicles, you're getting an average of 10 to 11 shots per of these mortar squads. So that's 30 shots out of all 9 mortars. It's more like 31.5. We'll just say 30 for the sake of it. That's going to give you 5 auto wounds, and it can spike into a lot more than that, especially if you start getting blast off and stuff like that. Of course, it's not just about auto wounding, it's about actually being able to damage the opponent, and you can actually increase the mortar's AP quite significantly. Firstly, you get the stratagem Fields of Fire. This is a very common stratagem in the Guard. It's used all the time. Essentially allows you to pick an enemy unit and everything else that shoots at it gets additional AP. Now, there are other things you need to do. You need to have another unit shoot first and then Fields of Fire goes off. But long story short, you light the target up with something simple, then the mortars can start dogpiling on it and they get extra AP. Now, of course, the enemy will get the benefit of cover. So giving it +1 AP often won't mean anything because then they'll just get the benefit of cover. This is where the other layers come in. So you've also got the Hellhound, which has the burn them out special rule, which allows you to ignore cover. So if the Hellhound shoots something, and bear in mind you can put a heavy bolter on the Hellhound, gives it a 36-inch range, and the special rule doesn't specify that you have to use the Inferno cannon. So you can light something with a bit of heavy bolter tracer fire, or just have your Hellhound up close and personal anyway and do it the old-fashioned way, and you can remove cover. So what happens is you shoot the Hellhound first, and then you can do fields of fire, and then when you shoot your mortars, they're ignoring cover AP1, so now they're actually doing something with their shots. And on top of this, you can stack up Withering Hail from a Element Exterminator, which gives you additional AP as well. It's like Fields of Fire. So now we're at AP -2. And what's really, really crazy is you can use Ursula Creed to do Fields of Fire for free, even if it's already been done via her ability. So that means you can actually stack Fields of Fire on again, which means in theory, if you've... Oh, and you've got a Scout Sentinel. You've got Scout Sentinels, which can do Daring Recon, which allows you to ignore the -1 penalty for indirect fire and gives you reroll ones. So if you fully stack on all of your buffs, you can get your mortars hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, lethal hits at AP -2, ignoring cover. Sorry, -3 ignoring cover, because 2 Fields of Fire, which can stack, and then Withering Hail. Now, of course, that is a lot of additional buffs that you are stacking onto one possible enemy unit. Sometimes that is what you want to do if it's a Death Star, if it's a linchpin of your opponent's army, but rarely are you going to do this for 2 reasons. Firstly, one of the biggest advantages of the Mortar bit is it is supremely cheap. This is one of the things that's making it come back, all right? It is 180 points for 9 mortars. You take 3 heavy weapon squads, 60 points each. It's 10 points cheaper than a Manticore, guys. What would you rather have, 1 Manticore or 9 mortars? Now, this thing being so cheap, it does start to get a bit insane if you are specifically putting things in your list and you're building your whole game plan around spending potentially hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds, if not like 1,000 points on supporting 180 points. That seems like diminishing returns. However, you would be surprised how many of these buffs are going to naturally occur in your army. Think about what I was talking about before. Scout Sentinels. They're a good unit. They can be slid into any list, no problem whatsoever. So you probably find that you've got a Scout Sentinel to knocking around the place anyway, especially if you were taking old school artillery spam before. Well, I say old school, beginning of 10th style artillery spam, when you were looking at like Manticores and Basilisks. You're probably going to have a few Scout Sentinels you still want to use. Okay, that's fine. They're already in the list. You're not putting them in specially, they're already in. And Element Exterminator are a fantastic main battle tank. You can put those in the list and they're just going to do the job of a main battle tank and then also be spreading out Withering Hail, which is awesome. Fields of Fire. Now, it's unlikely, or it's not super common that you'll double Fields of Fire an enemy unit, but you might spread Fields of Fire over 2 units, 1 via the stratagem and 1 via Creed, or you're just going to do Fields of Fire once, just taking Creed. And then Hellhounds are something that people weren't taking, but I've been spamming them recently and I've found that they work very tasty. And a really, really simple combo that I found is just Fields of Fire plus Hellhound equals mortars on AP -1, and just that single pip of AP is often enough to make the mortars feel really impactful. And if you can get those AP -2, it's insane. But like I said, the point I'm trying to make here is you aren't building your whole list around the mortars. You put the mortars in your army and they start just benefiting and working and synergizing with other stuff that you were more than likely already putting in there. So they don't need any special treatment. They just come along and just do lots of indirect fire, and they do it well. And this isn't just bullshit, guys. This isn't just something I've theory hammered. I've actually taken this into the crucible of battle. I was in an RTT recently, and I faced off against Necrons 3 times. Not once, 3 times. And Necrons are possibly the best army out there right now. And every single time I face these Necrons, by the end of the game, my opponents said that my mortars were so difficult for them to deal with. Because every single time one of my opponents pushed forward with one of his Catan, oh yeah, face Hypercrypt twice, by the way. Every single time these Catan came forward, what I would do is either light one up with a Hellhound or just use Creed with 3 fields of fire so that I could, make sure the Catan went on a 3-up save, and then I just yeet a bunch of mortars into them. I just stack up those auto wounds. They just start spiking up. Sometimes I would, and it's not just the auto wounds, right? I still get to try and wound them on 6 as well. And I'm finding that each one of these mortar teams is putting on 3 or 4 wounds onto a Catan. Sometimes the mortar team would spike and do more. Sometimes the mortar team wouldn't do very much and only do 1. But I found consistently, and I know that there'll be someone to be able to do the real math hammer here and be able to say what the averages are, but just from my experience, I found that consistently each mortar team was putting on 3 to 4 wounds onto a Catan. Now, sure, that's, let's say, 12 wounds. The Catan fails 6 of its 4 pin buns. It stops 2 of the, them with the feel no pain. You're looking at about 4 wounds through. Yeah, okay, it's not a huge amount, but it is a third of a Catan. A third of a Catan from just 180 points of just supplementary spare firepower. In 2 separate games, I killed in total 3 Catan. I finished them off with the mortars. It was the mortars that chipped off the final 2 or 3 wounds. That was done consistently. If it happened once, I would say, oh, it's not really. It was a one-off. It was a spike. But I would get that Catan down to its last legs, and then I just rain 9 mortars on it, and 3 out of 3 times that mortar bombardment brought down a Catan. So when I say this thing isn't just anti-infantry, when I say it's actually good indirect fire, and don't underestimate its lethal hits, you can put it into other targets and it can punch well above its weight, there's the example that I'm giving to back that claim up. So if more pits are good, I guess the big question is, where did it go? Why have we not seen people doing this since the beginning of 10th edition? Why have we not seen people spamming this? Well, the funny thing is, towards the end of 9th edition, the Guard got our codex, and we only got to play with it competitively for about 3 months before 10th edition came along. And yes, I am still pretty salty about that, because that 9th edition Guard codex was good, but I won't get distracted. And in that 9th edition codex, the mortar pit tactic was the go-to indirect fire for most Guard players, because it worked, because the mortars went up from strength 4 to strength 5, and we got things like take aim, which allowed them to get around a lot of their issues. And all of those buffs that we got in 9th edition essentially were copy and pasted over the 10th edition. They've just been lying dormant because there's been other artillery pieces which have stolen the show. Everyone's been wanking off the Manticores. I personally have been wanking off Basilisks, and I still think Basilisks are great. I don't want anyone getting the wrong impression. I'm not saying Manticores are bad. I'm not saying Basilisks are bad. They've just gone up in points a bit, and so if you're looking for cheap artillery, I'm suggesting the Mortar Pit to you. But everything the Mortar Pit did in 9th edition, it still did in 10th edition. There were just other people that were stealing the limelight. And so as these other mortars, as these other indirect fires, I should say, have been getting nerfed more and more, steadily just going up in points, becoming that bit less efficient, that bit less attractive, the mortar team hasn't changed. It started at 60 points. It stayed at 60 points. It's 60 points after the latest MFM, the Munitorum Field Manual. And so it's not that the Mortar Pit has suddenly been boosted into the stratosphere, it's that everything else around it has got a bit worse. And it's been waiting in the wings. It's been lurking in the shadows. Like the patient hunter, it is the slow blade that penetrates the shield. However, I do need to apply the brakes on the hype train for just a moment, because I want to make something abundantly clear. I think the Mortar Pit works brilliantly in a hybrid Guard army, where its job is to either pick off a small isolated unit like a 5-man intercessor squad that's just chilling at the back on a home objective, just keep stacking those wounds on, just forcing your opponent to make saves. And it's also good, like I use it to finish off those big things where, again, you can just make them fair enough saves and they've only got 1 or 2 wounds left, you will bring it down. I don't think the Mortar is going to become the go-to for artillery heavy lists. Think your Krieg, think people just taking like 5 or 6 artillery pieces. I think in those lists where your artillery is the primary damage dealer, you're not talking about harassing fire, you're not talking about supporting fire, but you're talking about concentrated fire. I think in those situations, you're still going to want your basilisks and your earthshakers and your medusas. But if you're a hybrid guard player and you're looking at your artillery, you're thinking, man, this one manticle, this one low manticle just never does anything, it's too swingy. Or this one basilisk, like it's okay, but it's not feeling it as much anymore. For the same price, or nearest damn it, I can highly recommend and I can highly suggest that you check out the good old Mortar Pit. It still puts the work in. Well, of course, that's what I think. But all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think that the Mortar Pit is making a triumphant return, or do you think it just lacks the punch for 10th edition? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier patrons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bonbon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Wolf, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.